Okay, if it is Wednesday at 3 o'clock Eastern Time, that can mean just one thing. It's time for the goRIA live stream. And as we do normally on these weekly live streams, we like to put a spotlight on what is new on www.goRIA.com. And as you might guess, what's new this week is we have a podcast that just dropped this morning with Jamie Hopkins. Jamie, thanks for joining us here today.
Hey, Chuck, good to see you. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. It's great to have you here. It was really a lot of fun to do that recording with you just a couple of weeks ago. And it's ready to be dropped, or has been dropped, I should say, this morning. So before we get into that, a little quick promo, but an important one that actually ties in with Jamie as well. June 13th, we are going to have the goRIA virtual masterclass. And that's going to be a half-day event, literally with everything you want to know, kind of compacted into a half-a-day virtual series of sessions about going RIA. Whether you want to build your own RIA, we'll give you the technical know-how, or at least a start on that for that purpose. And also, if you want to plug into an RIA, we're going to show you how to do the economics, what's a good deal, what's not a good deal, what to look for, what to avoid. So again, that's going to be on June 13th, virtual. Look out for the registration. It'll be up on goRIA.com in just a couple of weeks. So this is more of a save the date. Okay. Well, with those housekeeping matters out of the way, the podcast that dropped today with Jamie Hopkins was about trust services. And one of the many things I like about the RIA space is the flexibility to do things. And this is kind of almost like a series that's evolving into things you could bolt on to your RIA. You could bolt on tax services. You could bolt on insurance services. And of course, we talked about bolting on trust services, which I think is hugely important, especially with the big generational wealth transfer that's going to come down the pike. If you're not in the trust department services, I promise you some other advisor is. So with all of that said, Jamie, give the audience, if you would, please, a little taste of what you shared with us on the podcast.
Well, thanks. And I think as we see this world move to more comprehensive planning as kind of that centerpiece, wrapping in all the things that clients need, if you look at what clients are asking for, they're asking for estate planning, trust, banking, tax services. They're actually a couple of the highest ones, and a couple of the ones with the biggest gap between what's being delivered from RIAs today and what clients are looking for as a service. So eventually those services, those needs are going to be fulfilled, and RIAs and advisors are well positioned to be that trusted professional. Now, as you mentioned, everybody shouldn't start a trust company. Everybody shouldn't start a tax practice. Everybody shouldn't start an insurance company. But you can go out and find good partners there to, kind of marry your practice and these services with. And it's evolved a lot over the last, I'd say, 10 years on all of those, including trust services, where one of the things that I'm still surprised advisors don't know is you can manage the underlying assets, go partner with a trust company like Bryn Mawr Trust, where I am today, and, essentially outsource the trust fiduciary duties of administrating the trust, of doing distributions, but still manage the assets yourself in a way that you don't have conflict, in the sense of like the trust company's not going to go after your clients. And that's really important to know, because you don't want to bring that kind of risk inside your business, but you do need to find good partners to be able to deliver this service, especially if something happens with Tax Cut and Job Act over the next year and a half, and we see maybe exemptions come back down. We're going to have a lot more people worried about estate taxes, and trusts are going to fill part of that gap.
Absolutely. And something else that you touched upon during the podcast, again, we don't want to give it all the way here, but it's worth listening to the whole thing. But I thought this was really, really relevant. And that's the whole idea. And we call it KOCs in our shop, kids of clients. So you have fill in the blank. Is it 60 trillion, 70 trillion, 80 trillion, whatever it is? It's a huge number that's going to pass hands from the current generation to our KOCs. And boy, I tell you what, some of the suggestions you had for utilizing and leveraging a trust partner for that, I thought was really valuable. Can you touch upon that a little bit, please?
Yeah, it's a great point. Look, trusts are transfer vehicles often, right? Whether intergenerational or between business owners or to the next generation, they're about control and structure. And so when we see this wealth passing, a lot of this wealth is going to end up in trusts. And so I think that advisors want to be part of that conversation, not left out. This can also help protect people, special needs trusts, great deal of planning going into that. We're going to see more and more of that into the future too. It's still an underserved area when you look out across this country. How many people, actually have family members deal with that and should be looking at transfer vehicles that can help with it. And then finding a trusted partner to walk alongside you as an advisor, I think is really important. And you're probably listening to this. It's you don't necessarily need 100 partners here. You might need 2 to 3 really good ones to service all of your clients' needs. But you want to be part of those conversations. Eventually, wealth is going to transfer, and it's either going to transfer with your guidance or away from your guidance. And so to me, you
Right.
need to be a part of that conversation. And that's what we're positioning ourselves as RIAs today, as financial advisors and financial planners, is part of that centerpiece. That's shifted, I think, over the years, but we really say, hey, we're going to help coordinate all these services. So I think following through with that, finding the right partners is really important.
I think that's great advice. And something else we like to do on this show is really compare and contrast the RIA space from the broker-dealer space. So do the broker-dealer, especially the wirehouses, and a lot of the independents for that matter, do they have trust departments? Yes. Do you have choices? No, that's the trust department. You get what you get and you can't get upset, right? So that's your option. But as I say all the time, the beauty of the RIA space is if you want to bolt on a trust department, if you want to build one, God bless, you could do that too. Not my cup of tea, right? I'm looking for a good partner. And Jamie, as you know, we're looking to do this year as well as a shop. You have a number of different partners to choose from. And you could pick and choose not just one, and to your point, maybe 2 or 3 to really cover all the different aspects of the trust services that you would want to deliver to your clients. And like I say all the time, try that at your broker dealer. It's not going to happen, right? So you have that variety of choice and the ability to pick and choose what's best for you and your clients. And boy, that's just a mantra in the RI space. Okay, good stuff. So we don't want to do the whole podcast again here because it was good enough on that first take. So I want to make sure everyone goes to goRIA.com. It's on there today. You go to goRIA.com. It's the first one up there. You'll see it. Check it out because there's a lot more stuff that Jamie went into that was really useful. So having said all that, Jamie, maybe one parting thought with regards to trust services that you may want to relate to the audience here today.
Yeah, I'll pass one thing over as you're closing this out, and a good reason to go listen to the episode. I think a lot of RIAs, especially, don't think about this as a really good revenue opportunity for their firm, too. Ultimately, we're in a business. We need to protect and grow revenue. Offering trust services, estate planning type services with good external partners can help you grow the revenue and actually potentially bring in assets that are sitting somewhere else today
Mhm.
that you don't think you can capture or work with your client on because they are in a trust somewhere. But these are things you should be able to bridge over time if you think about bolting on good partners. As you said, buying or setting up your own trust company can be really challenging. It's a little bit different than, say, a tax practice where some states won't even add, like Delaware's not adding new trust charters right now. You couldn't even try there if you wanted to. So you're
Right.
going to have to partner in some situations, but this can help you protect the clients and grow revenue over time if you're very strategic about it.
Perfect. Well, that's a great place to end it for today. So Jamie Hopkins, Bryn Mawr Trust, thanks so much for coming on today. And really, thanks for taking the time for that podcast. A lot of great information. Okay. So on behalf of goRIA, fueled by investment news, I'm Chuck Vela, and we'll see you again next Wednesday at 3 o'clock Eastern time with some more highlights on what's new on goRIA.com. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon. And thanks again, Jamie. Take care.